I'm Tasha, and I am the host and creator of the Minding My Temple podcast and the Minding My Temple platform, where balance meets life. And so what I do is I encourage people all the time to find balance and create balance in their life. But today, I'm specifically addressing International Women's Day. And it's because I'm a woman, right? And I have something to share. And this year, the topic of International Women's Day is breaking the bias. And so I had to start asking myself, what kind of biases as a woman have I experienced in my life? And specifically, what biases I have experienced as not only being a woman, but being an African-American woman, because that's the only perspective I can speak upon. I've only always ever been an African-American woman. And so that might also lead towards more additional biases, but specifically as a woman, I feel like there are a lot of biases out there that I could speak to, but there's one in particular I wanted to talk about today. Now let's first talk about what is a bias. I had to look it up. So the definition of bias that I found that spoke to me was a bias is a personal and sometimes unreasoned being something that doesn't have any factual basis, right? So an unreasoned judgment or prejudice, that would be a bias. So kind of like a stereotype. So that's another word for bias. So I thought about what are my experiences with stereotypes or unreasoned judgments that have been placed on me as a woman. And so in my opinion, and in my experience and in my perspective, women, and specifically African-American women, because that's the perspective I can speak to, are expected to play small. So I feel like the bias is to be quiet, to be unseen, to be unheard, to not stand in your full potential, to not stand in your full emotional capabilities. I feel like we've been taught to sit in the background. And I feel like that has been a bias for me as a woman. You know, there are certain things I've realized in my life that have shaped who I am to this day. And they all have been, or not all, I can't say all, but a lot of them have been based on the biases that I've experienced. So I'll give you an example. I remember being a young girl and someone asking me why I smiled so much. Like, who asked a teenager why they smile so much? I don't think I was a teenager. I might have been 11, 12 years old. And so I started to learn, I need to stop smiling. And I started to wonder, what is that about? And I often feel like in order to make other people comfortable, they put our biases on us to keep us small. And I don't mean small as in stature, I know I'm short, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about small in my being, to have me shrink into something that I'm not. And so one word that I have a hard time with, y'all, and the concept of this word really kind of has me question, is this a quality that I want to represent? And does it provide a space for an unwritten bias? So one word that I have a really hard time is humble and humility. Okay, before you judge, let's take a look at the definition, because I know we've been taught oh, I'm humble. I present myself with so much humility. And so I started to think about it, what really does that mean? And why are they always encouraging me or us as African-American women to be humble and to be honored that we're humble and stand in our humility? So I looked at the definition, and let me tell y'all, I ain't humble. And I ain't standing in nobody's humility. And I understand you guys might have a different perspective, but just hold your horses. Let me tell you what it's about. Now, when I looked at the definitions that spoke to me were the following. So humble means lower in dignity and lower in importance. Yeah, I'm not so sure I feel like I'm lower in dignity or lower in importance. It's also having a feeling of insignificance, inferiority, if I said that right, inferiority, yes. And a feeling of subservience. I'm not inferior, I'm not insignificant, and I'm not subservient. Okay, so I looked up another definition, and it says, humility is expressed in a way that does not show too much. And I remember back in the day hearing Oh, go sit down somewhere. Ain't nobody checking for you. Ain't nobody looking for you. You just doing too much. They always telling us we doing too much. Why? Because my greatness makes you feel a certain kind of way? What's that about? So I need to shrink myself. I need to stop smiling. I need to be smaller, right? Just to make you feel more comfortable. And I'm saying you as the world. So I think that's a bias against women, that we're expected to be insignificant. We're expected to be inferior. We're expected to be of lower importance. We're supposed to be of lower in dignity, of lower in respect, and lower of our greatness. We're supposed to sit back and be quiet and not be seen and not be heard. And I'm like, forget that. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not humble, and nor am I walking in humility. But here's what I will do. I will walk in my greatness and in my confidence with empathy, with understanding, with kindness, with compassion, with consideration. But I'm no longer walking in humility and being humble because I'm not of lower and of importance. And I encourage you not to do it either, because the more we all shine, the more we all step into our greatness and our true authentic beings, that's when the world gets the perfect gift. Because each and every one of us are different, and we're designed and put in this world to do something only we can do. And so if you do anything different, if you dim your light at all, if you do not step into your full potential, if you do not walk into your greatness, the world suffers, because the world thinks we're supposed to be small. So imagine if we all walked in our best selves all the time, how the world would be impacted. But because the world often thinks that I get uncomfortable because you're great, like, no, I'm not walking in that bias anymore as a woman. I'm going to stand up high, be empowered, be confident, be my most truest, authentic self, because I know that the world will gain such a huge gift when I'm walking in my purpose and I'm being exactly who the world needs me to be and being exactly who I need to be for myself. And so on this day, on International Women's Day, I just really encourage every single one of you women to walk in your purpose, walk in your best self, because let me tell you, the world suffers when we don't. And so get really clear about who you are. And I say that's how I overcame this bias, is I had to do some internal work and get really clear about who I am. Some of those things I didn't like. Some of those things I didn't think the world would like. Some of those things I didn't think would be accepted. And I started to understand that, you know what? It's still me. I can't change who I naturally am. Some of these things might sound boring. Some of them might not be accepted by everybody. But I also do know that who I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to give to the world requires me to be all those things that I'm not so sure the world would love. But the combination of those together make me, which gives me an opportunity to share myself and my gifts with the world, and whoever that impacts, even if it's one person, serves my purpose. And so walk in that, walk in knowing that exactly who you are is enough. Walking in that is enough. And so on today and every day, I encourage each one of you women to stand in your greatness, walk in your highest self, and simply figure out and be exactly who you are, because that is a gift to the world. And let me tell you, it's enough. It's enough. So happy International Women's Day to everybody from your host of the Minding My Temple podcast, me, Tasha Temple. I love you all, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share. Have a great day.